Hello everyone, welcome to radiology cases tutorial. Today we are going to discuss the sonographic features of early pregnancy anomalies. So first of all, we are going to discuss the multifetal pregnancy. As here you can see the schematic diagram, and this one is the adjacent sonogram. As here you can see the myometrium of the uterus, and here you can see the twin pregnancy, and these twins are separated by a septa. So if you see the twin pregnancy, then we have to state the presence or absence and thickness of the septum between the twins, and we have to assess the number of the placenta and look for the lambda sign. The lambda sign indicates the dichorionic diamniotic pregnancy. As here you can see the lambda sign, so it shows the dichorionic diamniotic pregnancy. And we will also indicate on the report whether the pregnancy is monochorionic monoamniotic or monochorionic diamniotic or the dichorionic diamniotic. So we have also note the relative position of the fetuses. And now we are going to discuss the another early pregnancy anomaly, which is the corpus luteal cyst of the pregnancy. And after fertilization, the corpus luteum persists due to the beta HCG, and in this condition the bleeding occurs into it. Often it causes the pain, and it most commonly resolves spontaneously after few weeks. As here you can see the schematic diagram, and this one is the adjacent sonogram. Here you can see the urinary bladder, and this one is the uterus, and here you can see the gestational sac which is present in the endometrial cavity of the uterus. As here you can see the gestational sac is also showing the decidual reaction, which is the echogenic rim around the gestational sac. And here you can see the anechoic fluid, which is also showing the acoustic enhancement, and this one is the corpus luteal cyst. On ultrasound, corpus luteal cysts are most commonly less than 5 cm in size, and they are thin walled, and they also display the internal echoes from the blood. And this complex appearance can mimic on the ovarian malignancy, and if there is any doubt, we have to repeat the scan in 6 to 8 weeks. If it was a corpus luteal cyst, then it will dissolve after 8 to 6 weeks. But if it is an ovarian malignancy, then it will remain after 6 to 8 weeks. And now we are going to discuss the subchorionic hemorrhage. Subchorionic hemorrhage is a venous bleeding into the subchorion space extending to the margin of the placenta, and it usually occurs in the early pregnancy, and it is associated with the smoking. It has a favorable prognosis. As here you can see the schematic diagram of the subchorionic hemorrhage, and this one is the adjacent sonogram. And here you can see the myometrium of the uterus, and this one is the endometrium of the uterus, which contains the gestational sac. And within the gestational sac you can see the yolk sac and the embryo, as this is clear in the sonogram. As here you can see this one is the placenta, but this end of the placenta is showing a hypoechoic texture, and this hypoechoic area is the subchorionic hemorrhage. But keep in mind that the large retroplacental hemorrhage tends to occur in the late pregnancy and has a poor outcome. It is not reliably diagnosed by the ultrasound. And now we are going to discuss the incomplete miscarriage or retained product of conceptions. This is when the fetal death occurs and some placental or the fetal tissues remains within the endometrial cavity, and usually causing the heavy bleeding. Don't always assume that the debris in the endometrial cavity is due to the RPOCs. Relate the findings to any prior scans. If the patient has previously been shown to have had an intrauterine gestational sac or the embryo, then the diagnosis can be made confidently. Otherwise, if the beta HCG level is falling, then the report should indicate that RPOCs is most likely cause. But if the beta HCG level is unknown, then an ectopic pregnancy with an associated decidual reaction is possible. As here you can see the schematic diagram, and this one is the adjacent sonogram. On ultrasound, the RPCs appear as a eco-bright or the heterogeneous material within the endometrial cavity. Within the endometrial cavity, you can see the eco-bright or the heterogeneous material, and this heterogeneous material is likely RPOCs, but we have to relate it with the beta HCG. And now we are going to discuss another early pregnancy anomaly, which is the hydatidiform mole or molar pregnancy. On ultrasound, In the early stages, the uterus is enlarged and filled with the echo-bright material, giving the appearance of a snowstorm. As the mole progresses, the easily visible echo-poor cystic spaces develop within it, and it gives the bunch of grapes appearance. And it is associated with the large ovarian theca luteal cyst, and it is due to the excessive beta HCG stimulation. As here you can see the schematic diagram, and this one is adjacent sonogram, and here you can see the myometrium of the uterus, and within the endometrial cavity you can see the molar tissues. As in the sonogram you can see the multiple cystic spaces which are giving the bunch of grapes appearance. So these are the sonographic features of hydatidiform mole. And now we are going to discuss the embryonic demise. There are the different conditions which may occurs in the embryonic demise. So first of all, we are going to discuss the empty gestational sac. As here you can see the schematic diagram, and this one is the adjacent sonogram. Here you can see the myometrium of the uterus, and within the myometrium you can see the endometrial cavity, and this endometrial cavity is showing the gestational sac, but this gestational sac have no yolk sac or the fetal pool. If the gestational sac have the no yolk sac or the fetal pool, then findings are the concerning sonographic features of early failed pregnancy. Another condition which may be embryonic demise is the empty-amnion sign. As here you can see the schematic diagram with the adjacent sonogram. Here you can see the gestational sac, and within the gestational sac you can see the amniotic sac, but this amniotic sac has no fetal pool. If the findings are the diagnostic of non-viable pregnancy based on the failure to identify an embryo with the cardiac activity at the mean sac diameter greater than 25 mm. If the gestational sac is up to 25 mm and it does not contain any fetal pool or the cardiac activity, then this is the concerning feature of early failed pregnancy. As here this image of an intrauterine gestational sac shows a yolk sac but no embryo or the cardiac activity. Another condition in the embryonic demise is the absent fetal heart pulsation. As here you can see the M mode, and this one is a sonogram. Here you can see the gestational sac, and within the gestational sac you can see the embryo, and the M mode is placed on the chest of the fetus, but here you can see no cardiac activity. A non-viable pregnancy can be diagnosed when the cardiac activity is not identified at a CRL of 7 mm or larger. So this is the condition of embryonic demise. Thanks for watching.